Hello, and welcome back to JC's Writing Advice. I'm JC Bybee. I am an indie author with 8 books out across 3 series. They are science fiction and fantasy with mystery and thriller components. Or maybe I should say they're mystery and thriller with science fiction and fantasy components. Or, as has been coined, superhero procedural. I also have a podcast. Well, I co-host a podcast called Third Person POV. You can find that here on YouTube and other podcasting platforms, where we talk about critique groups, where we show what it's like to be in a critique group and how to work on certain areas of the craft of writing. You can also find all of my books at jcbybee.com, my website. You can also go over to Patreon and support me there. I have an exclusive story that is only available via Patreon, where you can download or purchase that as part of your membership. You can also get access, I realized my mic was in a bad spot, sorry. You can also get access to deleted scenes from some of my books. I don't have all of them formatted yet and available, but from at least the first 4 books of the Hero Unit series. So, welcome to today's episode. Today I'm going to talk about overcoming writer's block. And this is top of mind for me right now for a couple of reasons. I just finished 2 major projects. The third book in my Telvanna Mysteries series, The Phantom Thief, which you can see right here. And that will be available on May 15th. And the sequel to the Collinsworth Case Files, Technomancer. And that will also be available on May 15th. And one of the problems I run into often when I finish projects, especially major ones, 2 major projects back to back, I've been working on those 2 books for a little while, is my brain goes to almost like standby, and finding new ideas is difficult. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Another reason is, this one's a little less fun for me. My last writing group session didn't go well for me. The critique group gave me feedback. That's what they're supposed to do. But it was a little bit harder to take for me. A couple of reasons why. First being, I'm not good at taking critique. I admit that wholeheartedly. I don't process negative criticism very well. Even criticism that's like my writing group, they're not trying to beat me up. They're not trying to tear me down. They're doing their best to give the feedback that they think will make my writing better. And unfortunately, the piece that I submitted wasn't ready. And I knew it, and I shouldn't have submitted it, but I did anyway. There were a lot of aspects to it that, in the back of my mind, I knew needed work. And so I was already being critical of myself, and then to receive that criticism again was hard. It was hard. And you'll see it when that episode will air sometime later this month, and you'll see my reaction to it. I didn't yell at them. I didn't lose my temper as much as I have in the past. But you'll get to see the harder part of being in a critique group. Now, because of those 2 big factors and other small factors, I'm stumped. I can't come up with ideas at the moment. I don't even want to open any of my files. So, and again, I want to make this clear. I am not assigning blame to anyone but myself. This is something that I need to work on, and I'm hoping to take this opportunity to help other people that might find themselves in similar situations to get beyond it. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about overcoming writer's block, especially writer's block that might be emotional or mental, like a mental block where I feel like I'm not good enough to write. One of the ways I usually handle writer's block is going outside. Today is my lawn mowing day. So I went outside, I mowed the lawn, I was out there for almost 2 hours. Usually that clears my head. Often it gives me a headache. I have migraine disease, migraine disorder, whatever you want to call it. It's a neurological disorder, and heat and stress and dehydration are 3 of my biggest triggers. So mowing the lawn often ends up in that situation. Thankfully, it's not the case today as much. So I was hoping that would help. Unfortunately, this time it didn't. And if you can hear a clicking noise, that's my wife putting something on her magnet board. So now I'm turning to hopefully giving teaching advice to help my fellow writers to overcome, and hoping that that will help me overcome. So we talked about this in one of our episodes of Third Person POV. We talked about overcoming writer's block. And one of the suggestions that we made was to read in the genre you're writing. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. I didn't elaborate quite like I should have. So I want to go back to that. When I say read in the genre you're writing, what I'm talking about is studying the genre, not just reading like you would for pleasure. So we're going to go back here. And because this one is going to be less likely to cause me copyright issues, this is the complete works of Jane Austen. Because one of my current writing projects, Iridescent is the series name, Lost Souls is book 1, is and I can never know the proper genre. It's not, because people use Regency and Victorian sort of interchangeable, and from my research they're not, but whatever. It is a Victorian-esque YA fantasy. I say esque because I'm not actually setting it in Victorian England. I've created a world. You guys have seen me talk about that. So when I started writing this, I knew I needed to get some of the icons of that era, such as Jane Austen. So I bought Regency is Jane Austen. I stand corrected. So those in the comments that might come after me. Anyway, so when I picked up Jane Austen, I knew I wasn't reading this just for fun. I almost never read not just for fun, but I was reading this with the intent of learning. So I had a pen out, and you can see I'm underlining. I'm taking notes. My handwriting is terrible, so I can read it though. Here, commentary, notes, ideas, thoughts, how it's approached. I am not so bold as to attempt to copy Jane Austen's style. I have not practiced that, but I need to study the language, how they talk, how they speak, how they act, what things mean, and the different words that they use. Like here, we come over here, I marked this section here, you can see, right here. And my note is, there's a lack of dialogue tags. So you look at it, and there are very few dialogue tags in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. Because it's a conversation between 2 people, but the style of her writing is the roadmap for the reader to understand who's talking. So that's one way you can overcome writer's block, is picking up a book. And you might want to either buy a used copy or a copy you don't care about, and just annotating the heck out of it, making notes, making observations. I am doing that also with the Harry Potter series. I have book 1 back there that I've gotten through and annotated, and I actually had to tape the poor thing back together because of how much I went through these sections and studied it. And these things are one of the ways I can overcome writer's block. Another way is writing something else entirely. If you have an idea bouncing around in your head, that maybe that's getting in the way. Last week, when I was trying to get a section written, I had to get a couple ideas out of my head, and they're sitting in my books folder, and they might be what I've put some attention on this week. We'll see. And all of these things are tricks to get your mind going. Music is another one that works really well for me. Not for some people. Some people get really confused when I say I write while listening to music. They can't process that. They need not necessarily absolute silence, but they need quiet. I don't. I don't need. That's another thing that you want to work on as a writer, is don't get so ingrained in a habit that you can't write if that habit is broken. Some people will say the opposite. They will say, well, make sure you have your writing space. And yes, you want to have a writing space. I mean, I have my office and I organized it, so it's a little bit more conducive to me being able to concentrate. But you also need to be flexible enough to write, even if the situation or even if you're somewhere else. If it's not ideal, you need to be able, if you want to make it as a writer, you need to be able to write. You need to be able to put words on page, which is kind of why I'm hoping this will help me, because I'm struggling with that right now, like I said. So as you are working, making sure you're keeping your ideas flowing. Sorry, I keep looking at my recording software. You want to figure out what works to help you overcome your writer's block and make a note of it. That way, if you come across it later, you can start finding ways to cut it off before it gets bad. Before you get into a situation where you just sit and stare at the page and stare at the cursor blinking and mocking you on your screen. And sometimes that's going to happen. One of the things you also can just accept is writer's block might not be able to be overcome immediately. So take the time to step back, go do something else, and approach it again later. Not too much later. I will stipulate that can lead to giving up, but you want to come back to it soon. Next day, even the same day. But for me, it has to be the next day, because usually my mind doesn't clear the garbage in one day, or in a few hours even. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else I've used. I like playing video games. That helps me also. Another trick I've used is looking at gaming manuals. You can kind of see them at my topmost shelf up there. I have three or four different games up there that I've played or that I'm currently playing in. And sometimes just reading through the manuals can help. I also play video games. Like I said, video games have helped me get through difficult situations, because it engages a different part of my brain. I'm able to play it for a little while and then go back to what I was doing, and it helps clear my thoughts. Talking it out with another person, if you have someone you can rely on to give you good feedback and to talk to you and is aware of what you're working on and is aware of the project, or somebody that's willing to listen that's not aware that you have to explain the project to.
might be another way of helping. My wife often will tolerate listening to me rant about whatever project I'm working on, mostly because she gets to read all of them when I'm finished as part of the editing process. She is my editor, I like to say. She does a good job. But sometimes giving voice to your problems, to the plot, to the ideas can help. And if you're a discovery writer, try outlining. I know that some of you might be acting like a vampire having holy water splashed on them when I say that. And the same for you outliners. Try discovery writing. Try just sitting down and writing. You could even be gibberish. Just start putting words in a sequence. They don't even have to make sense. Try something different than what you usually do. And then your brain will have to do something different. And that can break you out of the rut that you're in. So, yeah, that's my advice on overcoming writer's block. I might come back to this in later episodes and talk a little bit more about it when I'm hopefully not struggling as much with it, and I can give you some more pointers. So, that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening. Remember, you can find all of my books at jcbybee.com. You can go to Patreon and help me get a chair that doesn't do that. That would be great. You can also listen to me over on Third Person POV and get some pointers from 3 other excellent writers who really know what they're doing. And with that, I will bid you, dear listener, good day. Until next time.